We begin with breaking news. A nasty road rage fight takes a deadly turn. The CBS 2 News team is here, and we begin with that story in San Bernardino. It's an investigation, and CBS 2's Tina Patel is live at the scene of that crash with more information. Tina.
Well, Pat, you can see that 5th Street is still closed here while the investigation is underway, and one of the cars involved in this crash is still here. That's significant damage to the front windshield. Now, this all happened around 7:30. Let's show you some video shot earlier in the evening. What police do tell us is that they believe this was an incident of road rage. Two drivers, a man and a woman, were both seen driving erratically eastbound down 5th Street when somehow they both lost control just before Cabrera Street. One of the cars ended up hitting a parked vehicle. There was no injuries involved in that, but the other car lost control and struck a bicyclist. Now, that bicyclist did not survive his injuries. He has family that's here on scene. They didn't want to talk to us on camera, but they do tell us that he lived in this area, he was often in this area, and that they had worried in the past about people speeding down 5th Street. Right now, the investigation is still very early on in the investigation. The police tell us that they don't believe that any drugs or alcohol were involved, but they have not made any arrests yet while they continue to look into this. But again, 5th Street is closed while they try to figure out exactly what this road rage incident was and the drivers involved. That's the latest in San Bernardino. We'll send it back to you.
All right. Thank you, Tina. And more breaking news tonight, this time in the OC. Hundreds are in the dark because of a violent car crash. CBS 2's Jeff Nguyen is live in Huntington Beach. Jeff.
Pat, let's go ahead and show you the repair crews out here following a violent car crash that sent one of them into a power pole with so much force it took out 4 more. Here's why. Cell phone video captured the helicopter that was used to airlift the driver to the hospital after a violent crash between 2 vehicles that sent this white one into a power pole. Yes. Evan Gaber and Chance Harrison live near the corner of Ward and Yorktown in Huntington Beach.
There's like 100 people out all over the neighborhood at least. Just really worried, hoping that whoever was in the car at the time was all right.
It was tense because one of the drivers was passed out with power lines surrounding the person's car. Fire crews had to wait about an hour for Edison crews to de-energize the lines to pull the victim out.
There was family members here, like they were crying and upset.
The second driver was awake when first responders got here, and the person was taken to the hospital by ground. At this point, the cause of the crash is unclear, but neighbors say the intersection is dangerous.
There's just a stop sign, and if your focus isn't on that turn, a lot of bad things can go wrong, like what happened tonight.
At one point tonight, about 4,500 customers were in the dark. Right now, it's a little less than 400. Edison crews here are hoping to have everything restored by tomorrow morning. Pat, we'll send it back to you.
All right. Thanks for that, Jeff. Stunning developments involving former Trump campaign chairman Paul Manafort. Special counsel Robert Mueller is now accusing Manafort of attempting to tamper with witnesses in his federal tax and lobbying case. A federal judge could revise the terms of Manafort's release or revoke it entirely. And that means Manafort could be sent to jail immediately until his trial. Now, we're just hours away from the primary polls opening as voters pick the man who may be the next governor of California. CBS 2 political reporter Dave Ryan joins us, and he has this last-minute campaign push.
Yeah, and Pat, they're all out there. I think part of it is there's a sense of like volatility and unpredictability, about the polls this year. All the major candidates for governor were crisscrossing the state on Monday. Lieutenant Governor Gavin Newsom told reporters in Inglewood that the primary election will be won or lost in Los Angeles County. And former LA Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa is scheduled to be meeting voters at Pink's Hot Dogs on La Brea right about now. With the hours running short before the in-person primary voting begins, former LA Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa told his supporters in Whittier at a Monday night rally that the difference between him and the other candidates is that he's actually done the heavy lifting while they have just talked about it.
I think the biggest difference between me and the other candidates is the track record. I want to show people that I'm willing to work as hard as they do every single day.
On the final primary campaign day of the 2018 race for governor, Lieutenant Governor Gavin Newsom barnstormed the state from San Diego to San Francisco. At a rally of supporters with the Domestic Workers Union, Newsom said he's ready to take on President Trump if that's necessary.
If he wants to attack our dreamers and our diverse communities, I'm not going to be timid. I'm going to stand up and push back against that agenda.
Republican John Cox actually cast his ballot at an early voting station in the San Diego area. and he told reporters a Republican could do a better job running California than the Democrats, and he's the one who could get it done.
It's about time the people of this state got a better job done by their leaders, and that's what we're going to get in November when they elect me as governor.
State Treasurer John Chung brought his campaign to San Francisco's Chinatown.
I'm the only candidate today working on building more affordable housing. We don't want the bright young people of California. We don't want the seniors who are here at this rally leaving this state. California is the place of greatest aspiration.
Now, two other major candidates are carrying their campaigns right into primary Tuesday. Both Republican State Assemblyman Travis Allen and Democrat former Superintendent of Public Instruction Delane Easton have multiple campaign stops tomorrow in Southern California before calling it a day, Pat.
All right, and a long day ahead for you tomorrow as well, Dave Bryan.
That's for sure.
And CBS 2 will continue coverage of the last-minute campaigning and results throughout the day tomorrow. We will also post the latest on CBSLA.com. Now, investigators are trying to figure out just how a metro train hit a one-year-old girl in East L.A. That child suffered a leg injury from the Gold Line train at the Indiana and East 3rd station. Crews have a handle on the Stone Fire tonight, which quickly burned 1,400 acres this afternoon in Agua Dulce. It's now 30% contained. It was burning near Sierra Highway in between Santa Clarita and Palmdale. Tonight, evacuation orders have been lifted. One firefighter had a minor injury. The LAPD has a new chief. The mayor named Michael Moore to take the reins of the nation's third largest police force. And CBS 2's Tom Wade is live at LAPD headquarters in downtown LA with reaction. Tom.
Hi there, Pat. So far, it would appear this new chief is getting good reviews from civil rights groups and activists. But, of course, the scrutiny of this job is just beginning. After a hug from the mayor and standing alongside LAPD Chief Charlie Beck, Michael Moore made his first comments as incoming chief.
When the mayor called me today, it is one of those moments that I'll always remember.
Moore joined the LAPD back in 1981 and, according to his bio, rose through the ranks working as a patrol officer, detective, sergeant, and lieutenant before rising to the top spot. 8 years ago, he was a top candidate for chief, but then Mayor Villaraigosa chose current chief Charlie Beck.
I couldn't be happier about this selection.
That this leadership and continuity of the department allows us to have the 56th chief handing the baton to the 57th.
It's a positive start, and I think it's going to be a positive handoff.
Danny Bakewell Sr. is a longtime community activist and publisher of the LA Sentinel. His preferred choice would have been William Scott, San Francisco's chief of police, who was also with the LAPD. But Bakewell says Moore can succeed, but community outreach is critical.
I do have a lot of respect for Beck, and I think that Beck is somebody that he wouldn't have chosen Moore as his second in command if Moore didn't have the same kind of sensibilities that he has.
LAPD's police union put out a statement earlier tonight saying they are eager to work with Moore, but he has a huge job in front of him in terms of addressing low morale and staffing issues. Reporting live downtown, I'm Tom Waite. Pat, back to you.
Thank you, Tom. Now, this evening, President Trump suddenly canceled a Philadelphia Eagles visit to the White House. Tomorrow's event was to celebrate their Super Bowl win. The president tweeted tonight, citing the national anthem protests. He wrote, "The Philadelphia Eagles football team was invited to the White House. Unfortunately, only a small number of players decided to come, and we canceled the event. Staying in the locker room for the playing of our national anthem is as disrespectful to our country as kneeling. Sorry." Well, the hunt for a man suspected in several Arizona murders comes to a violent end. Police believe Dwight Jones's first victim was renowned psychiatrist Dr. Stephen Pitts on Thursday. Pitts worked on the JonBenet Ramsey case, and on Friday, 2 paralegals turned up dead. The next morning, police found life coach Marshall Levine murdered. Officers believe they all had a connection to Jones's 2009 divorce and custody battle. Today, Dwight took his own life as police surrounded the Scottsdale Hotel where he was staying. In Guatemala, the official death toll has climbed to 69 after the devastating eruption of the Fuego volcano. CBS 2's Rachel Kim shows us how the local Guatemalan consulate is trying to help the victims.
Orange, superheated gas and rocks shot into the sky and poured down the mountain, reportedly wiping out entire villages. The eruption sent ash as far as 40 miles away. In the first few hours, the ash and mud remained so hot, rescuers had a difficult time reaching victims, some of whom could be heard crying out for help. The rapidly moving mixture of gases and volcanic matter reached 1,300 degrees in some places. By the time first responders did reach them, it was often too late. Dozens were either burned to death or asphyxiated by deadly fumes.
This is what happens in Pompeii.
Here in Los Angeles, the Guatemalan community is getting together at the consulate's office to figure out the best way they can help those in their native country.
A lot of children that got burned, a lot of children, and the hospital of Escuintla, the nearest hospital, has collapsed.
Myra Todd lost 7 relatives on Sunday. She's getting updates from family members who survived.
There is a lot of bodies that are missing. There is a lot of bodies on the mortuary place, and they don't know exactly what they're going to happen, but it's a lot of people there.
This group is asking Angelinos to have compassion and donate what they can to people in need.
Please come out and help. This could happen to any country in the world.
Organizers say the best way you can help is with cash donations, but you can drop off any donation here at the consulate's office in Elysian Valley on Riverside Drive. Reporting in Elysian Valley, Rachel Kim, CBS 2 News.
In Hawaii, lava continues to shoot out of the ground near the Kilauea volcano. Over the weekend, lava cut off the final escape route for a dozen people who had refused to leave. Several of them have since been airlifted out. Kilauea has been erupting for more than a month now. A dog owner is devastated. Did an airline actually try to cover up how his beloved pet died? That's ahead. Plus this.
You can't get in on Fridays. You can't get in on Saturdays.
Disney pass holders feel like the force is not with them, but forcing them out. Why Star Wars might be to blame.
Hi, everybody. I'm Garth Kepler. Clouds moving back in. We'll have your forecast coming up.
And here's a look at the guests tonight on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert.